What is going on, everyone? My name is Andrew Miller, editor over at Hook'emHeadlines.com. With me is Tarik LaCour, contributor over at Hook'emHeadlines.com. We are coming back at you, week 12 of the Hook'em Horns Texas Longhorns football show. We will be doing a shorter show this week than usual. Shane Black might be joining us as well a little bit later on, but we got basketball tonight, and me and Shane will be joining y'all for a show later. And to be honest, there's just not a whole lot of positives to say about the TCU game. As always, I'll link up some of the post-game analysis that we did over at the site if you want to read a little bit more. But we're going to mostly look ahead to the Kansas game here, give our predictions. Tarik, do you have any kind of quick thoughts on last week, opening thoughts for this week?
Okay. So, as everyone knows, I'm the president, CEO, chairman of the board of the Quinn Ewers fan club. So, and as Twitter and everything else has told you, now Quinn Ewers is a fraud, and he did have a bad game. Well, he and the rest of the offense. What surprised me the most is, now let's start with Quinn, actually, before I get to that. So, Quinn has 13 touchdowns, and I tweeted this out earlier. Of the 20 quarterbacks in the 2022 class, of which he was really part of that class, they have a combined 12 touchdowns. He has 13. So he's outperforming the top 20 on the list. So things can always be worse, folks. But it wasn't great. And I think what we're starting to see now is, like, people are talking about, why is he regressing? I think what we need to keep in mind is Quinn missed 3 games, and I think Quinn is having the regression that he was probably going to have during that time, and now it's just coming later. So, and it's frustrating because, like, now you're at the end of the year, you think you'll start to, like, kind of take off, but you're seeing the regression that probably was going to happen earlier on. I mean, Quinn came back against a really bad Oklahoma team, and I think people just thought, oh, he's perfect, things like that. Just like Sam Ehlinger, like Joe Burrow, like lots of Vince Young, quarterbacks, even great quarterbacks, go through spurts, and it's not a linear progression. So don't jump off the Quinn train just yet, anyone. Also, for people saying, well, should you just put Hudson Card in? Well, keep in mind, there's a reason Hudson Card wasn't named the starter, and I think the reason is Hudson holds on to the ball too long. So I'm not sure if that was going to help, especially considering people were just dropping the ball so much in the TCU game. And frankly, for some players who I won't name, but I think you can fill in the blank, I didn't see a great effort out of those players. So that was what was really troubling me on offense. On defense, that's some of the best defense I've seen Texas play in the last 10 years. Barron Sorrell looked like Will Anderson. And then the defensive line looked great. The secondary looked great. I thought Terrence Brooks looks like he should be there to stay. Jahdae Barron is going to make some NFL team very happy one day because he can do everything. I thought having Anthony Cook and Jaron Thompson together. Now, keep in mind, this is a 40-point offense that you held to 17 points. And frankly, would have held to only really 3 if you had called that hold on that Kendre Miller thing and that bust. I don't know what was. I'm almost not even mad at that. Actually, no, I'm not mad at all. I'm like, okay, that was just a weird thing. But they definitely redeemed themselves with that fumble recovery. The defense did everything. If we had said, if we could have gotten a crystal ball and we're told through the crystal ball, TCU will only score 17 points, everyone would have predicted Texas would have won that game. So defense passes with flying colors. Offense, let's forget that performance and let's not see that again ever, never, ever. And whoever decided that Bijan Robinson should only have 12 touches, no, absolutely not. Go ahead. Rant over.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree with all your points here because, again, it was a pretty easy way to sum up the way that TCU game went. The only thing that I think post-game I didn't give enough credence to was the fact that, like, I thought TCU's defensive game plan was better than I thought it would be. I do want to give them a little bit of credit there. But outside of that, I mean, yeah, you got to get Bijan the ball more. God knows, get him involved in the passing game. Get Roshan Keelan involved in the pass. I don't need to go down that rabbit hole. I posted a stat today, Quinn Ewers, and then actually I mentioned it too, I believe in an article I did today. Ian Boyd over at Inside Texas did a good piece on just the simplistic nature of why Quinn Ewers to Xavier Worthy is not working right now. And it's just that there is one route that they're not hitting. It's that deep post. I went back and did some tracking. They're 0 of 8 in the last 5 games on the deep post. One catchable ball, which was a contested catch. And I don't know if you want to define a catchable ball as a contested catch. 1 interception, 2 turnover-worthy plays. It's just not there. I mean, Worthy's open on a lot of these. It's just not there. It's as simple as Ewers' mechanics just aren't looking right. He's throwing off his back foot sometimes. Looks like he's doing like a little hop step before he throws a lot of these balls. Either way, there's issues with the mechanics. I think there's a little bit of issues with the play calling where it's like Sark isn't giving him the most, or at least the friendliest game plans to get him in rhythm. Not giving him easy stuff, short, even some intermediate passes down the seam between the numbers. I think that's missing. So I don't know. Those are some huge points for me. Defensively, yeah, Texas looked really good. I mean, holding TCU to, what was it, like 283 total yards of offense? It's absolutely fantastic. More than cut in half the number of points per game they were scoring coming into Week 11. Wrapping that up for TCU, looking forward to Kansas. Some of my thoughts, I've mentioned these in passing on the site this week. I did a deep dive today on Kansas's offense. My way to sum it up is that depending on who's at quarterback, especially if it's Jason Bean, because we don't know who it's going to be this week. Both guys are banged up. Both guys have been limited in practice in ways in the last couple of weeks. Granted, Daniels has been going through practice. I don't know if it's full, though. So with being a quarterback, Kansas's offense has turned into a boom or bust offense, especially on the ground. I ran something today that was showing they lead the Big 12 in what I like to call boom or bust rate, which is a summation of all stuffed runs and explosive runs. So when he runs over 15 yards or over. And so a little over a quarter of their run plays fit into that mold. And so, I mean, you limit the explosive plays because Texas has been sound in the lanes, sound in the gaps. Interior defensive line's been playing well. Linebackers been finding the ball. Defensive backs have been helping out well in run defense too. Texas ranks 18th in the league in in the FBS in limiting explosive runs. So
if they're 18th in a 10-man league, that's really bad.
I guess it is. I believe they were second in the Big 12 behind Iowa State. I mean, that couldn't go for a lot of defensive categories though. So it in general, like I don't think you can look at Texas's defense right now and be like, yeah, I feel good about Kansas having a big offensive day. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but a big key to this game is going to be limiting Devin Neal. I don't know if you've seen this. He's got something in the ballpark of 420 rushing yards in the last 2 weeks, but of those 420 rushing yards, it's like 270 of them have come on explosive runs. So this is a home run hitter lately, and limit that, and you bring him back down to earth. So,
I mean, this is basically a triple option offense in many ways. At this point, I think PK. I just completely trust him. I think they will be ready. They'll have something to go. Bean is certainly not the athlete that Jalen Daniels is, so that I hope he plays. I'd rather not play another athletic quarterback for a while. Just saying. So, but I think the key for this week is going to be run the ball at least 40 times. Maybe 45. Maybe Toby Jean, you're going to get 25 carries, and Roshan, you're getting 20. And something I think that is that could help with Quinn Ewers too is when you're doing play actions, maybe get him kind of on a waggle. So he's kind of throwing to a guy who's kind of on the move. I think those would be good. So I do expect Sark to have a different game plan. I mean, you have to take the deep shots. Yes. You don't need to take a ton. You have to take some. You don't have to take a ton. So that would be kind of the plan there. I mean, it's really pretty simple. There's no reason for Texas to lose to Kansas or to Baylor. They should finish both of these games and finish 8-4. So, even if they don't play particularly well, they should still win these last 2 games. And there's something else I wanted to address because I keep saying this on Twitter. It's driving me crazy. So people keep asking this question of should Sark give up the play calling? Okay. A few reasons why the answer is no. First of all, that's why you hired him. So if you give up the play calling, what are you there for? It's like you don't have like this other thing that makes you a really like desirable coach. It's your play calling. That's why you're there. Yeah. 2, you're the best person on that staff who can call plays. So, A, you should probably do the thing you're best at. That kind of thing. Also, finally, Sark has given up play calling before, and it did not end well. At USC in 2015, he gave the play calling to Clay Helton. The offense regressed a lot. Also, here's another thing too. Head coaches who call plays, that's telling you something. They're very controlling. They like it a certain way. They want things run a certain way. You're not just going to give that over to someone, because even when Sark did give the play calling up, he still at certain times in the game would like take over a drive and say like, okay, I'm going to take this one. It was the same thing with Tom Herman. It happens all the time. You never really give up play calling. So if you're going to call anyway, just let that person call the plays. There's no point in like fighting about it through halfway through the game. Like we saw just, I guess, 2 years ago when Tom Herman and Mike Yursich, you could even tell just by watching the drive, like who was calling the plays. So now I do think, having said that, Sark is going to need to delegate certain things in the offseason and also maybe bring in some more analysts to help him out there, because I think that could be very productive so he can focus a little bit more. And also, this is something I do think Sark should do. When Quinn comes off to the sideline, Sark should not be sitting by himself. He should be going to Quinn, talking to him. There's something off there. That needs to change. Because Sark almost looks like he's by himself, like not even connected to the team. He needs to have more control over the I mean, if you're going to be the offensive coordinator, then just be that. So.
Yeah, I mean, I'll talk like really quickly, like bullet point style, address 3 of the things you said there. Most recent, the last thing you said there at least was, the way that Sark's demeanor is on the sidelines. Yeah, I mean, I think you see him being totally dejected when Texas is having these like second half meltdowns, and it's like to some degree your team's attitude is going to match your body language on the sidelines, and you looking like you're helpless over there and that you don't have the answers isn't going to help anything. Whereas you look at a head coach like a Dave Aranda, and it seems like he's always pretty calm, cool, and collected. And I mean, I think your team follows that lead. More specifically to Quinn Ewers, you mentioned coaching him up, and I mean, something's happened where he's regressed in the last few weeks just mechanically and not going through his reads the same ways. He's pretty much abandoning check downs or really finding maybe a secondary route over the middle or in the flats. He's just looking at the deep ball a lot of plays. And so, I mean, work on his patience, body presence, and mechanics. I mean, it's as simple as that. Him and Sark have a lot to work on in those regards during the offseason.
Or if Sark or if Sark's not going to do it himself, he needs to bring Milby down and just have Ewers go straight to him and they kind of talk it over, which is fine. But Quinn needs to be talking to someone face to face, walking kind of through that, not talking on the phone. I don't think that's working. I think that needs to change. So either Sark can do it, which it's a perfect time. I mean, PK doesn't really need Sark to do his job. So Sark can go over, talk to Quinn, talk to Worthy or whoever, kind of get them ready to go. And then there you are. That's just my thought.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. Another thing you had meant, or that you were talking about, was because I took questions before we did before I did the post game show on Saturday night, which was not a fun one to do. And
really, I would have thought it was a lot of fun.
It just some of the questions were. I mean, I appreciate people engaging for sure, and going to be happy to take questions again this weekend for this weekend's post game show. But I got a lot of questions, or at least a few. A good portion of them were, okay, what is Sark going to do about the play calling? Are we hiring an OC? And I said, to put it simply, no. It's like this is a lot of the value.
Sark is not Jimbo, folks.
That's what I was going to say, is people keep comparing this to the Jimbo Fisher situation, where it's like, first of all, they're not even on the same plane as play callers. Second of all, their situations right now aren't anywhere close to being the same. Like, yes, both Texas and Texas A&M in ways are underachieving this season, but like Texas is bowl eligible at least. I mean,
Texas has scored 49 points in one game, over 30 points in most of their games. Texas A&M has not scored 26 points against a Power 5 opponent this year. But in spite of having several 5-star receivers, a 5-star tight end, Devin A. Chain. I mean, look at what Ole Miss is doing with a bunch of people that, like, I could not even remember them as recruits. Like Junkins, that running back, who's really good. So, yeah, I mean, Jimbo needs help. Sark needs help too, but not the same way.
No, Sark just needs to figure out his quarterback situation. Yeah. When Sark has a quarterback that's good, the offense works, the teams tend to be pretty good, solidified top 25 teams. Okay, so the last thing I wanted to mention about Kansas for the weekend, because this is kind of my bridge into the prediction, is this is my biggest worry for the game, and this is why I don't know how I feel about it. I like the way that Texas's defense matches up with Kansas's offense, but I don't like our offense against their defense for the most part, because like teams have started to load the box on Bijan Robinson and test the passing game. It's the same thing we saw down the stretch last season. And to be frank, the results are even worse. And so, outside of the Kansas State game at least, Kansas's defense is very prone to giving up yards in space. If you give your quarterback time to throw, you will be able to pick them apart over the middle, corner routes on the outside, and just deep. Like anything where you stretch the field, really, they can be beat. They allow a lot of big plays. They just don't have the athletes yet. But they can play physical, and they can get hats to the football near the line of scrimmage. The point I'm getting to here is, like I mentioned earlier, where I think the game plan you would like to see for Ewers is like get him in rhythm with some short passes, some screen plays, things like that, some wheel routes. But like that stuff doesn't work super well against Kansas. It hasn't worked for really anyone all season, to the point where a lot of teams don't even try it. That's what concerns me, is if we try to set the tone on the ground, Kansas is already stacking the box early on. If we're starting to get stuffed the way we did against Yeah, well, TCU. Kansas defense isn't as good as TCU's, but TCU doesn't have a world-beating defense either. So if we try to adjust and then the same thing happens where we can't get the deep ball going and then Kansas is beating us in the short and intermediate passing games, it could be a long weekend again for this offense. That's what concerns me, is a lot of the same issues we faced the last few games. So I'll hold my prediction in case you have anything else you want to say before you give yours. Okay.
Nope, I think that's about it.
Okay. Let me see what I ended up saying on the site and see if I've deviated from that at all since yesterday, because I've been going back and forth as I've been breaking this game down more in the last 24 hours. It said Texas 28-24. I still like that. I don't know. I think the defense does enough to win. I think we're going to come out of this game with concerns of the offense still in the passing game. But, like, I have a hard time.
You have a true freshman quarterback. It would be shocking if you didn't.
Yeah, that's true. And, I mean, hopefully we just see strides in that regard and that you can find a way to get Bijan involved outside of two types of running plays. That's where I think like expanding the usage of Bijan literally makes a world's difference to where Texas could have won the game last weekend if they had done that. That's the difference that Bijan makes.
Quinn did miss Bijan wide open.
Yes, he did. But you don't abandon that. Quinn missed a lot of people that were wide open.
That was true against Oklahoma State, but you were probably cheering when that was happening.
Yes and no. I don't like to watch bad film. I hope that Texas still does well.
But okay, so you're saying 24-28. Let me ask you this though. Who do you like in Bedlam?
I mean, I like Oklahoma State if Spencer Sanders is the quarterback, but you want to try.
I thought Iowa State would beat them without Spencer Sanders. Like Iowa State is bad.
They were well on pace to, but man, I think there were 8 turnovers in that game, 7 of which were interceptions. It was Gundy's son is so bad. He is so bad. And the difference between Oklahoma State with and without Spencer Sanders each game, I think, is like a swing of 30 points. It's insane. And so.
Well, Sanders said he's playing this week.
Yeah, and I don't think that OU team that lost to West Virginia can beat Oklahoma State with Spencer Sanders. Am I wrong about that?
I think so. I don't know if Oklahoma can beat anybody.
Well, OU is like a 7.5 point favorite. Nothing about this game makes sense. So I'm reserving my judgments. But also, this to some degree feels like a lost season for Oklahoma State because, like, Spencer Sanders got hurt. It all came off the rails.
It happens.
It does.
All right. I'm going to say 17-28 Texas.
Okay. I thought you were going in the direction like 17-14.
No. Okay. If you score 14 points against Kansas, yeah, that's something went really, really wrong.
I mean, yeah, if you don't eclipse 20.
Now, I guess no, it's Kansas State. Never mind. But yeah, they should be able to score some. Hopefully, they get at least one touchdown in the second half.
Yeah, I would agree with that. But
I could see though if Texas starts hot and Bean is the quarterback, I could see it going sideways very fast. But we'll see. This is the type of game I could see someone like J.T. Sanders and Jordan Whittington doing very well in.
We need them in the short and intermediate passing game. We really do. Same thing with Roschon and Bijan. I mean, you could say that about all games this season. Jaleel, maybe get him involved. But, yeah. Enough said about this game, I think. It'll be interesting to see.
I still can't believe Joel Billingsley dropped that ball. I was like, come on.
Yes and no. I mean, that was
right in the numbers.
Yes, it did. It, it God, that looked like 2021 Jaleel Billingsley. Yeah. All right. Well, I do feel confident about us getting the win, which is good still. But yeah.
I don't know if I'd say confident. I would assume that they would win, but confident just isn't the word for Texas right now.
Hey, I mean, if it's basketball.
Excuse me, Texas football.
Yeah. Fair.
Yeah.
All right.
Regardless, I'll try to jump on the post-game show with you.
For the Gonzaga game?
No, for the
Kansas
game. And hopefully, here's the thing, Texas fans. Let's say we win. Let's assume we win. At worst, you can say there's no way you're going to have a losing season. Because even if you lose that and the bowl game, you'll still be have a winning season. So at this point, just after 5-7, and all the other things that have happened this year, I'll take it, and let's go into next season.
Yeah, I think a good way to cap this is hopefully we can look back after Saturday and say that basketball and football got their revenge tour from this week compared to last season. Basketball beating Gonzaga, football beating Kansas.
Absolutely.
Way to end the week. All right. Well, for the Longhorns football show, my name is Andrew Miller. Again, Hook'emHeadlines.com. Tarik, LaCour. We will be joining y'all. We'll have a post game for Gonzaga here up tomorrow, but because we're recording night of the 16th, and then post game on Saturday for football. So that is pretty much it. Welcome.